absolutely wrote a Snow White that
She's not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
The more I've spoken about feminism, the more I have realized that fighting for women's rights has too often become synonymous with man-hating. If there is one thing I know for certain, it is that this has to stop.
What's going on with this country in general nowadays? Does that mean like your generation? Seriously, come on. And these pronouns. What the is with the pronouns?
Today we dive into how woke is slowly destroying the industry that used to define entertainment. And believe me, this will be a wild ride.
You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you're accused of complaining.
From the superhero blockbusters to classic franchises, Hollywood now seems spellbound. What has it become? Why is every film not showing us something educational but a story instead? Let's face it, Hollywood used to be about escapist entertainment. Those movies that made you laugh, made you cry, and made you leave the theater wanting an encore. But over the last few years, it's just become something a little bit different. A little bit like something you would imagine. Fantasyland turned into a land of virtuous signaling and endless lectures.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly. The world is messy. There are ambiguities. People who do really good stuff have flaws.
And it's not just the fans. Hollywood stars along with filmmakers and industry insiders have had a lot to call out.
God wants the best for you. Believe that. I do. Learn to pray. It's easy and it's so good for your soul. And finally, nobody is perfect. People are going to tell you you're perfect just the way you are. You're not. You are imperfect. You always will be, but there is a powerful force that designed you that way. And if you're willing to accept that, you will have grace. And grace is a gift.
So-called woke characters that seem to have penetrated the industry, the most popular so far, are the ones who make sure that all the boxes they check are under diversity, inclusion, and representation. And I get it, these are issues one must consider. But when they start hijacking the story, then there is a problem.
I think Disney wanted her to be queer in the beginning, and I just didn't feel comfortable doing that. They were like, "Do you want Raven to be gay?" I said, "Why?" "Because you are." I said, bad reason.
Think about it, The Little Mermaid, a live-action remake where the character Ariel is black. It's refreshing to see new faces, but wasn't it enough for the character to be changed to make a bold statement? Did it fix the story, or was it just a little over-anxious catering for a particular crowd? And let us talk about the backlash. Fans were not only complaining about the casting, they were upset about the forced messaging. And that is, Hollywood no longer wants to entertain you but wants to teach you about diversity, inclusion, and social justice, even if you don't want it.
Vice Admiral, Commander Dameron, with our current fuel consumption, there's a very limited amount of time that we can stay out of range of those Star Destroyers.
Very kind of you to make me aware. Stick to your post and follow my orders.
But what of all this woke craziness, pushing the very envelope? What happens to the actual production quality of these movies and TV series? Ghostbusters 2016, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, The Flash. These films should have rocked the boat, but instead they were referred to as progressive until audiences saw them. Poorly written, stale performances, nonsensical narratives and not so much innovation. Truth be said, Hollywood is no longer making films to entertain. They make films to prove a point. And that point is, look at how woke we are. But here is the problem, movies fail big time at the box office. Take, for example, The Flash. It was made with over $200 million but never returned profits. Why? Because the story was overshadowed by a forced political agenda. Fans wanted the Superman, not a lecture on gender and identity politics.
I'd like to start by addressing the LBGTQ community directly. And I want every member of that community to know that I come here tonight in peace, and I hope to negotiate the release of the baby. The baby was the #1 streaming artist until about a couple weeks ago. He took a nasty spill on stage and said some wild stuff about the LBGTQ community during a concert in Florida. Now, you know I go hard in the paint, but even I saw that shit and was like, God damn, the baby. Ooh, he pushed the button, didn't he? He pushed the button, punched the LBGTQ community right in the AIDS. Can't do that. But I do believe, and I'll make this point later, that the kid made a very egregious mistake. I will acknowledge that. But, you know, a lot of the LBGTQ community doesn't know the baby's history. He's a wild guy. He wants and him in Walmart. Oh, this is true. Google it. The baby a nigga in Walmart in North Carolina. Nothing bad happened to his career. In our country, you can nigga, but you better not hurt a gay person's feelings.
The elite of Hollywood have taken out their swords as well. Comedians like Dave Chappelle have aimed towards cancel culture, and directors like Quentin Tarantino called the whole obsession over political correctness involved in the industry.
A.O. Scott, who's always been a pretty good champion of mine, you know, he says something in the fact that, well, Tarantino's playing with racism and is playing with racism and misogyny and gruesomeness, and there's really no way you can do that and keep your hands clean.
That's a good way to put it.
It is a good way to put it. And I was like, who wants clean hands?
In his own words, here is Tarantino. I am not a fan of woke culture. It kills creativity.
You know, ideology trumps art. Ideology trumps individual effort. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining.
Hollywood used to be a barren land for limitless creativity. Today, no director or writer would want to offend someone and thus develop a safe, sanitized version of storytelling. And you can feel it. You can feel it in every scene, the absence of a risk and a heart. And let's face it, this is boring. While that remains undecided, it begs the question of what is next for Hollywood. Will we see a return to the golden age of movies where entertaining was the end thing? Or will we simply continue along the road of virtue-mongering, pandering, and killing creativity? It's probably time for Hollywood to revisit what it was that first made it great by taking risks, pushing boundaries, and telling stories that entranced audiences. If they can embrace diversity and inclusivity while doing so, it might be the reinvention Hollywood desperately requires. The thing is, if Hollywood doesn't change, then we are going to see an even bigger shift. People are waking up, they are seeing films for what they are, indeed their fans demanding better storytelling and rejecting movies that sound like lectures instead of experiences. What do you think? Has woke culture destroyed Hollywood, or is it just a start, ushering in a new era? Comment below on your thoughts and don't forget to smash that like button if you agree to what we're saying. Until next time, stay woke but not too woke. We'll see you in the next video.